Okay, this is where we're at so far. We've been sawing on the saw and sawing pieces out for the new table we've been sawing pieces out for the tabletop. And here's a piece of wood that's left over that we're sawing on. Here's some scraps that have come through slab wood that's come through the saw. And off of what we've yielded a few end pieces that weren't of use of the first log that we've been sawing. Now we got two more pieces to the log. Make sure I'm not on macro. Here we got two more pieces on the log over here that are brought in. That are going to be, I'm hoping to get the table legs out of this piece right here. And I'm hoping to get the drop leaf off of this piece right here. So what we've been working on so far is getting the tabletop. And out of what we sawed so far, this is what we've yielded for the tabletop for these four pieces. Take a look at them. Here they are. They're four pieces that have been rough sawn. I saw them a little bit more than 1 inch thick because I'm going to plane them out on the planer. Here's the four pieces that have been rough sawn. Now these four pieces are going to become the tabletop. And what I do is I look at the end grain, and they've been roughly quarter sawn off of these logs. And I look at the end grain to see which way the grains are lining up. Now if you see on this end right here, I don't know if you can see it, the way the circles go, the tree rings go. And what you want to do is, on one piece of wood, you want to line the tree rings so that they go up this way, and on the next piece, you want to line them so that they go down this way. That way, if one log curls up, then the other log is going to pull against it, curling down. So that's how you want to line them up for gluing. So the next step I'm going to do right now is I'm going to run them through the planer. And we're going to plane both sides, and we're going to try to get four pieces that match up that we can glue together tightly enough so that we don't have a seam or a crack here when they're glued. So when they're glued, that seam will be tight enough together so that you can't see that they've been glued together into one piece, one harmonious piece. Now right now, this piece is about, I'm going to say 8 inches wide. After it's been run through the planer and I glue it together, I'm hoping to get maybe 7 inches, 6.5 inches wide. And when I trim these ends off, this is going to be a little bit narrower. It's not going to be a big table. This is going to be the tabletop. Now, the drop leaf is planning on hanging down, and I'm going to let it hang down maybe a further, so that the table, when it's open, maybe will be this wide. This wide when it's opened, maybe, I don't know, maybe 16 inches wide when it's opened. It's not going to be a real big table. Just something that'll stay close into the wall is what I'm interested in. A nice little hardwood table that's close into the wall. So that's the first stage, and that's where we're at right now with it. And we're going to clean up the mess and cut up the slab wood into sticks for the wood stove, and then we're going to cut through another log and see if we can start to get the drop leaf and the four legs. So this is where we're at in the project right now, and this is stage 1, and cutting this out. Tip the logs up this way, you can see. Now we're going to start the planing process. That'll be stage 2, and in the next film you'll see the pieces after they've been planed, and after I cut out these four pieces out of here to make the legs. That's going to be in the next video. After I cut these four out to make the legs, I'm going to have them on the lathe, and then I'm going to have that in the next video. Okay, here's those four pieces we had in the last clip. We've ran them through the planer. We've glued them together with clamps. And we're waiting. The glue is about 3/4 dry now on them. We've clamped them all up. And what we have roughly is an 8-inch wide hardwood board. After the glue's set, we're going to run it through the planer once more to take off trim off any excess. Now what we have here is the 2 legs for the table. I've just rough cut them out of a log. And these 2 legs are going to have to go on the wood lathe. So I'm getting them ready for the wood lathe. What I'm going to do is run them through the planer now. And I just cut them out on the bandsaw out of a log. Come over to the bandsaw. The bandsaw set, and there's a few pieces left over from them, slab wood. The other half of that log is right here that I cut them out of. I cut them out of the other half section of that particular log. That was the log that was leaning over here before. So I cut it in half. I cut it in half again. And those are the 2 half sections that I cut out of that. And so now what we need to do is we need to run them through this planer here. I'm going to get the planer ready. I got to crank it up. To the right level to run them through. And I'm going to run them through and get them all nice and planed. Then I'm going to take them over here to the lathe. I'm going to put them on the lathe and I'm going to spin them. I'm going to leave the top corners square. I have to leave the top corner square, and you'll see why later, but I'm going to spin the center and I'm going to put a design in it, the same in both pieces. And those are going to be the 2 legs for the table. This particular table, because it sits so close to the wall, it only really has 2 legs. It has a tabletop. Well, you'll see later. The design I have is complicated, but the leaf swings out, and the tabletop, when it's finished, is going to be 24 inches by 18 inches when the leaf's up. When the leaf's down, it's going to be 7 3/4 by 24, so it slides up against the wall. So anyway, it's going to go on the lathe, and so my next step is to plane those 2 pieces and put them on the lathe and turn them. And when I get them done being turned, then I'm going to re-show them to you. Right now, here they are. Square blocks. Nothing fancy about them so far. Put them down here and back up a little bit. Square blocks, they still have the bark on one side. Now they have to be planed out. And so that's the next step. And so we're going to get right on that. Bye-bye for now.